an adage which is common in our business that mines are made, not found.
If Lornex is a mine, it will become the lowest grade copper mine anywhere in the world.
But it can, in fact, be an enterprise which will launch Rio Algam into the big leagues again in another metal area, or which can, in fact, destroy the company if the decision is made incorrectly. Probably no mining prospect in Canada was examined as exhaustively as Lornex before a production decision was taken. This was because, although the ore body was known to be large, it was also known to be of very low grade. Therefore, the investigation program had to be meticulous.
The Highland Valley is in central British Columbia, about 230 miles northeast of Vancouver, 40 miles from Kamloops. Here in 1964, Egil Lorentzen made the Lornex copper discovery and interested Rio Algam in making an exploratory investigation of the property.
When we had finally determined by the use of our geophysical tools the outline of the then new ore body, we followed up with further drilling, and the results were interesting enough that we brought in large diamond drills and then proceeded through many months to put down hole after hole to a depth of about 1,500 feet.
The drilling program indicated the presence of 300 to 400 million tons of copper-bearing material. The task was to determine whether this material could be mined economically. The investigation program included underground tunneling to verify the ore grade and to provide material for metallurgical studies. The underground program confirmed the results of the surface drilling, and the next step was to determine the most economical method of extracting the copper and molybdenum from the ore. A small pit was opened to provide ore for the pilot mill, which was built to test the feasibility of autogenous grinding, a wet process in which the ore is used to grind itself. The pilot milling program proved that autogenous grinding, followed by secondary grinding in ball mills, could be used to grind the ore in preparation for extraction of the copper and molybdenum by conventional flotation methods. On completion of the test mining and milling program, the investigation moved to Vancouver and Toronto, where committees and computers spent nearly a year evaluating all of the physical, marketing, and financial aspects of the project.
Of course, no mine gets underway without a lot of money. We knew that the money had to be raised from outside Lornex and outside Rio Algam, and we began our discussions with the three banks: Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, Toronto Dominion, and then also with Bank of Montreal. A few days after the letter of intent was signed, a group of us left for Japan to continue our negotiations for a sales contract and for a loan agreement. And on April 14th, 1969, we signed a letter of intent with the Japanese. It provides that the Japanese will take the total output of copper concentrates from the Lornex mine for a period of 12 years. It also provides that the Japanese will lend to the project on the basis of a second mortgage $26.5 million U.S. currency, or roughly 28.6 Canadian currency. So now that we appear to be on the threshold of success, we feel quite good.
1971 was the major construction year for the Lornex program. In the spring, it was a battle between the pre-production schedules and the weather.
the spring breakup and our roads are falling out from under the trucks. And under normal conditions, we wouldn't even try to operate a mine during this week. But we are behind schedule somewhat in our mining, and we feel we must maintain some level of production.
The back of this job has to be broken as far as construction operations are concerned during the next 6 months, during the good weather. Immediately behind me here is our copper concentrator building. The excavating for the concentrator started early in December. We went through a severe winter. We had some 30,000 cubic yards of rock to take out. Then, after completely hoarding the building in to protect it from the snow and the frost, we started to pour concrete.
The waste rock, or tailings from the concentrator, will be pumped to the tailings storage area 7 miles from the mill site.
We have one problem here in that we have to be completed by November the 1st. At the present time, we're attempting to strip the foundation area, remove the unsuitable materials down to glacial till, which will be the foundation for the structure.
Gentlemen, on behalf of the Council and the citizens of Logan Lake, I take a great deal of pleasure in welcoming you to Logan Lake, the capital of the Highland Valley. This ceremony today marks the completion of the first stage of construction for Logan Lake. It marks a transition from a construction project to a live, growing community. And it's like any other youngster, it has a very little past, but it's got tremendous potential for the future. We'll today officially open the town, the school, and this auditorium that you are now in.
I'm Jerry Wyman, General Mine Superintendent in charge of mining operations here at Lornex. I'm standing on the 4950 bench, and in the background, the shovel you see is one of the 4 that we have in operation stripping overburden. The bench faces that you see in the background comprise the ore that has been developed and exposed for the first year's operation. Although we have not met all of our targeted production stripping, we have found that the ore in the benches we have exposed has moved out approximately 50 feet, which has allowed us to expose sufficient ore without meeting our pre-production goals. Our problems this winter have been due partly to the severe cold and snow. We've recorded temperatures as low as 22 below zero, and during the month of December had something over 30 inches snowfall. On March 6th, we intend to start a 7-day operation and will operate 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week. During the month of October,
the new shop facilities were moved into and have allowed us to do a much better job on maintaining the equipment since we do have adequate facilities.
The ore from is moved by 120-ton trucks to the primary crushing plant, reduced to an 8-inch size. The 2,800-foot coarse ore conveyor carries the ore from the crusher to the concentrator.
When it's in full operation, there will be a stockpile of crushed ore reaching up nearly to the top of that gallery. A large conical stockpile which will have a live load capacity of about 170,000 tons, or enough for about 2 1/3 days operation in the concentrator. I am Norm Warren, Vice President of Lornex and Project Manager of the Lornex project. Today is the 2nd of March, 1972. We're standing just to the east of the concentrator building, which is nearing completion. In the concentrator, the crushed ore is put into the large autogenous mills, which are some of the largest that have been made in the world. There are 2 mill lines, each with 1 large autogenous mill with 8,000 horsepower installed on it and 2 4,000 horsepower motors, supplemented by 2 large ball mills, which grind the crushed ore down to the very fine size required in the flotation process. The grinding water in the mills and ground down to the texture approximately of a lady's face powder.
I'm Dwayne Fenty, General Mill Superintendent. At the present time, we're located in the control room, which is the heart of the entire concentrator operation. All of the major functions are monitored and controlled from this area. As you can see, the control room is divided into 3 sections. The upper section is a pictorial of the process with running lights to indicate what equipment is operating. The central section is the instrumentation section itself to indicate the status of process variables. And the lower section is start and stop buttons to operate the entire plant from this central area. The purpose of the concentrator itself is to recover the small amount of mineral values in the ore from the waste rock and produce marketable concentrates of copper and molybdenum. After the physical separation is made, the ore flows to the flotation plant where the valuable minerals are floated to the top of the pulp, the waste material remaining in the cells, and is pumped out to a tailings disposal area.
These small pilot mill cells illustrate the flotation process by which the copper and molybdenum concentrates are recovered. After extraction, the concentrates are dewatered, dried, and packed for shipment to the customers. The tailings from the mill go as a watery mixture or slurry to the thickener tanks, where the water is reclaimed for reuse in the milling process. Water is also reclaimed from the tailings storage area, and additional water is pumped 17 miles from the Thompson River.
I'm Bert Matson, construction manager for Lornex here on the project. We're looking at the final phase of construction in this project now. We are planning on bringing the first ore from the primary crusher and the mine out on this belt, which I'm standing in front of later today, and start bedding this stockpile area and building the stockpile. The schedule is presently to start load into the mills in the concentrator on the first line about 15th of March, and on the second line about a week to 10 days later, so that by the end of March we should have both lines in the mill running and be in production.
Well, as it happened, a number of mechanical defects of a minor nature, but of the type that are characteristic of projects of this scale, delayed delivery of ore to the mill by about 2 weeks. But the mine and mill are now running in. During the lengthy detailed investigation period and the 21-month construction period, we met and resolved many major problems relative to Lornex. and it's certainly to be expected that over the mine's operating life, we will have other problems of considerable importance. Lornex will be a profitable operation. Its annual results will be affected, obviously, by fluctuations in the price of copper. But it's a big mine, and it's a good mine. And over its life, it will unquestionably make a valuable contribution to its shareholders, to its employees, and to the national economy as well.
Thank you.